Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of the Disney Marathon, where we are watching every single Disney movie in existence, with exceptions of other studios that they license that I'll do specific studios for them eventually later on. Otherwise, all of them. So to get started from where we left off, we got Victory Through Air Power. This was released July 17th, 1943. I watched this August 11th, and woo! So if you don't know, Victory Through Air Power is a mix of live-action animation, but primarily animation, of World War II propaganda, essentially. It's essentially, I mean, obviously America came into World War II towards the end, around 1943. So you have a lot of the other major events of World War II that had happened, especially with things like Air Force that the other countries had been getting towards and all that stuff. This is not cooperating with my hair, is it? But like stuff like Dunkirk and all that the British and French hadn't already done. So you already had quite a bit of Air Force events happen that they were able to use and pull as propaganda points for why you should join the Air Force. And then, I mean, also, this was the rising time of stuff like Air Force as well. But, it's interesting. It's interesting. But it was designed and made to encourage people to enlist in the Air Force for World War II. And that's just not something that you would think of a Disney film for doing, but they did. I don't know how effective it was, but it exists. And this is one that is definitely pushed down by Disney a lot too, of them not wanting people to know that it exists. But you can find it, just not on Disney Plus, but you can find it. But it's entirely black and white, which is different from most Disney films at all, which shows that it wasn't as high budget as their actual feature films. But you have the entire history of planes and aviation going throughout the ages until you get to World War II. We have all of that before just to show, I guess, how cool planes can be. And further encourage people to give up their lives, And you have how planes started to be used for war, and then how it was currently used in World War II by the other countries. And then you have, I mean, there's like straight up talking about Nazis and that type of thing. Straight up talking about Dunkirk. And then, yeah, I mean, it's very explicitly World War II propaganda. They don't try to hide anything. There's none of this, in theory, it can be used for this. It's straight up, we're taking down Nazis. And, but you do learn about some other World War things, including stuff like supply lines and how Air Force also impacted that. And then, there's some fairly graphic imagery in this. Obviously, it's a cartoon, so it's not like it's that bad. It's not like there's blood or anything. But the depictions are still there. There is these planes bobbing stuff, and you're like, oh. But it's intense. It's definitely interesting. It's very much a piece of history. And you have to look at it from that front. And as long as you're not a Nazi, you can't really be against it per se, unless if you're a pacifist. Because it's not like they say anything wrong. Like we all want to beat the Nazis, But it's still just like, oh, this is what we're doing here. Oh, okay. But yeah, Victory Through Air Power. It exists. It definitely exists. So the next film I watched was the Three Caballeros. This was a rewatch. I watched it February 3rd to August 14th. And then, so this is another music compilation, just a little bit more streamlined, that follows Donald Duck with his friends Jose and Pinocchio as the Three Caballeros. Caballeros, Caballeros. And it's iconic. We love them. Three Caballeros is one of the most iconic Disney songs in my opinion. But I'm also biased because I love Grand Fiesta Tour in Epcot. So I love that ride and I love them. So it's fun in that sense. Overall, the movie's just, you know, isn't as high quality, something like that though. But you have a few different shorts. You have the penguin who hated the cold, with a little animated short where this penguin travels to Antarctica to warmer climates because why not? You have a lot of like animal facts thrown in. You have a flying donkey short, off-brand Dumbo Who. Then you got Jose and Pinchio who showed up, and then once you get to the Three Caballero part, you have 2D and 3D animation. Well, 2D animation mixed with live action 3D people. And then there is quite a bit of sexualizing women in this too. That's like, definitely was made in the 40s, but otherwise it's cute. It's the Three Caballeros. You know, we all know it. We all like it. So the next one I watched was Make My Music, which was the first time watching it, from April 20th to August 14th. Oh no, I'm sorry. It was released April 20th, 1946, and I watched it August 14th. I confused myself there. I was like, I hadn't started this series back then. But, so this you can't find anywhere, so I watched, it's a music compilation with a bunch of shorts. I was able to find each short individually, but including the credits, I was able to find the credits, so I think I watched most of it, but, you did have to watch it individually, so be aware if you want to watch it yourself. But, and this one is known for having some censorship, which might be one of the reasons why it's not on Disney Plus, but also, like, the censorship's so minute that I don't see why they couldn't just put it on there. Because there's a little bit of nudity in there, which you don't see anything though. So I'm not sure what's up with that, but, yeah, I mean, you have a female hunter short. That was kind of cool. Didn't expect that for the 40s. You have the origin of Casey's Corner with the short Casey at the Bat, which I was not aware of. I was watching it and like, Casey at the Bat. Is that Casey's Corner? Yeah. So the quick service location, Casey's Corner in Magic Kingdom. Baseball theme, knew that, and then but apparently it's based off this short from 1946. Which, that's cool, you know? You have a love story about hats, which was actually remarkably sweet. Would actually recommend. You have some good music throughout this, as you would expect from Make My Music. And then, you have Willie the Whale, and that was depressing as hell. Justice for Willie. He needs justice. So, that pretty much gets my thoughts on Make My Music. There's some shorts I didn't talk about that just weren't as prominent in my mind. But those are the ones that definitely been interesting. So the next movie is one that is quite controversial. It is probably the singular most controversial Disney film in existence, and that being Song of the South, released November 12th, 1946, and I watched this August 15th, 2023. Now, I have to walk on eggshells a little bit with this one, don't I? You have to consider the time it was released, and then how it currently plays into things. Because there are problems with this film, but when you consider when it was released, a lot of those problems were simply revolutionary for the fact that you even had anyone who was black in these positions and in these roles, you know? So interestingly enough, that I did not know about, Hattie McDaniel is in this film. She is best known for being the first black person to ever win an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress as Mammy in Gone with the Wind. And she was especially hated during this time. So it's really interesting to see how her other controversial role that won her an Oscar and she's also in this controversial role. But I love her. She's a great actress, so we're not getting into that. We have Semoothe, which is a very iconic song. It won an Oscar for Best Original Song. I think one of the interesting things about that moment too is that it's sang by the lead character, but he's painted in such a bright and happy light within it that you definitely didn't have within time too. And that role also won him an honorary Oscar, which made him the first Black man to ever win any type of Oscar. Obviously, it's not like it's a leading role or something, but it's still an Oscar, so which relates back to Hattie McDaniel of how, you know, it might have not been right, but you can still see how it helped carry things through the future and how we got to the point we are today. We needed those steps, even if it wasn't the most well executed, if that makes any sense. But that's just my opinion. But the main guy, as well as being the main guy as live action, physically on screen and also singing Semoothe, was also the voice of both the rabbit and the fox within the animated portions as well. So he was dominating these roles. But, yeah, I mean, the overall movie is you have this kid coming to a plantation, which is full of Black people. This is post-Reconstruction though, so they're technically free. And then, but he becomes friends with the staff and kind of likes them more than his own family anyway, so, whoa, get on you, kid. But, like, you have him learning about stuff throughout and have a little bit of, like, self-confidence and learning how to stick to, like, what he wants to do in his own moral code. Yeah, I mean, there's just such an odd debates around this film, and I genuinely wonder how many people have actually seen it. Because, I mean, again, there are problems with it, but when you consider what it did for its time period, because there were not any roles like this. There were no... I mean, I think I read, too, that the actor mentioned how this was one of the only non-comedic roles for a Black person within this time as well, and how just revolutionary that was, and the fact that he was able to get it, so. But he has done some other Disney stuff before this too. I think he voiced like someone in Dumbo or something like that. So he was pretty well vetted within Disney to get this role, but it's just interesting. It's not, I don't know. I mean, I would say watch it just for the controversy of it and see what you think. Maybe you disagree with me, maybe you don't. But I don't know, it's very interesting. But I also don't think we should take you out on the song Semoothe. Why do we have to get rid of that song? Just because the movie is questionable, you know? So the next movie I watched was Fun and Fancy Free, which was a rewatch. I watched this it was released September 27th, 1947, and I watched it August 17th. I'm getting confused because if the close can tell, I filmed a reading log before this one, which obviously I do, date start and date end, but here I just have it released and watched, so. This film is another short anthology. Disney made a bunch of these within that time, but it is narrated by Jiminy Cricket, which if you watch my first one, I love Jiminy. I will defend him, I will stand him, we love him. So we live for that. We have Molly the Giant, which is obviously one of the more iconic shorts as well. There's an entire gift shop in Magic Kingdom where you can see him like poking through the top of the building. You have Sir Mickey's, and then you have the Jack and the Beanstalk short as well with Mickey Mouse. That's also pretty iconic. There's not too much more to say about that. That's the most of this film, at least the notable parts of it for me. The next film I watched was Semoothe Time, released May 27th, 1948. I watched it August 17th to September 8th. It's another short music anthology. Another one. But this one, similar to Casey's Corner, I learned about the origin of Pecos Bill because there's a short within it that has references of Pecos Bill, a little western short. Which, if you don't know, Pecos Bill is a quick service location in Magic Kingdom as well. So that's just kind of interesting. Otherwise, I really don't have much else to say. There really wasn't that much to this besides your various shorts. And the next film and the last film I'll leave this off of is So Dear to My Heart, which released January 19th, 1949. And I watched it October 2nd, 2023. So this story follows a young boy living with his grandma pretty much, and then they have a sheep who has a lamb that's born, but it's a black sheep, and you know that's not good for Walt or whoever because he can't dye it. So she wants to get rid of the sheep, and the boy's like, no. And then, you know, trains it and enters in the fair and whatever as the best sheep. So this film's soundtrack, both the score and the musical numbers, are all really good. I wasn't expecting that, but they're all really solid. So at first, this kid is really freaking annoying, but then the more you go through, the more you see like how hard he's trying to take care of this lamb and why he goes through to do that. You also learn about how kind of bitchy his grandma is, and yeah, so he got a little bit rough. So I take back anything I said about him being annoying, you know? And then I couldn't figure out if some of the black sheep stuff was supposed to be a metaphor for something else, which I'll let you think about, because sometimes I got the feeling, but other times, you know, it's just like, well, yeah, because you can't dye the wool, so it's not as useful. Whatever. I feel like I wear primarily black clothing, so like, whatever. This was a different time, right? But, and this is also a mix of live action and a little bit of animated segments throughout. In those animated segments, you got more of the actual lamb itself. And then, yeah, I mean, it has a happy ending, which is pretty sweet. But I was not expecting this to be as cute as it was. It's definitely not something that everyone needs to watch. If you ever feel like watching it, go for it. But yeah, so that's where we're at with part 2 of the Disney marathon, and I'll get back to you when I've watched more. By the next time, we should have watched one of my favorite Disney films, which is Cinderella, so we can talk about that when we get to that. And until then, bye.